Where did all of this begin for Candace Owens?
You know, I feel like I have just a very regular story. Like I said, like I was born in New York, raised in Stamford. There was nothing, particularly that stood out in my childhood that made me think that I was going to go into politics. I feel like I landed into politics kind of accidentally.
Mm-hmm.
And I say accidentally because I thought I was a liberal my whole life. I thought I was on the left my whole life and really didn't pay attention to politics in any meaningful way. And then, when Trump was running for office, I didn't want him to be elected. I was like this, not because I thought he was a racist or a sexist, but just because I thought it was crazy to go from Obama, who had a certain decorum about him, to suddenly this sort of brash New Yorker. Mm-hmm. But I thought it was weird when all of a sudden the people that liked Trump, everyone thought he was like this iconic symbol of business. He was in rap songs. Trump was a status, flipped on him in 1 second. I didn't buy the narrative that he was in the media for 3-4 decades, and suddenly you wanted me to believe overnight that he was like Adolf Hitler and a racist. So I just didn't trust the media's narrative about him, and so I decided to actually listen to what he said. I still didn't vote for him in 2016, but I wanted to just listen to what he actually said. And then when I saw what he was saying versus how it was being reported, I just found it to be extremely dishonest. So I started researching more, learning more, and then I got kind of angry, like just with the lies, because I do think Black Americans are intentionally manipulated emotionally by the media and, kind of kept dumb but emotional intentionally by the school system. And I started reading up on like Thomas Sowell, Shelby Steele, a bunch of Black scholars that I originally had dismissed as Uncle Toms. And irony now is I get called an Uncle Tom all the time. So I got what was coming. But yeah, and then I realized that actually I've always been a conservative. I just didn't know it. And economically speaking, of course, the conservative arguments make the most sense.
Does that bother?
Guys, man, she is 100% correct. 100%. I mean, again, they're keeping Black people emotional and they're keeping them voting them. They're telling them things like, white supremacy and systemic racism. You're never going to be able to get ahead in this country unless you vote for us. Because again, we got your back. We'll give you whatever program you want, whatever DEI program you want, we will give it to you. Because we're good folks, we're Democrats. Got your back. And again, they smile at them and they take advantage of them. Again, it's kind of like a bad parent. Again, the child is sick, is overweight, has diabetes, whatever. And they allow the child to eat whatever they want because, again, it keeps the child happy and quiet. But it's killing the child. It really is. There's so many negative effects on their health. The same thing with this. They're telling them whatever they want to hear, in order for them to vote for them. Again, they're voting against their own interest. And again, anyone right now that votes Democrats, they are. And again, they tell you whatever. I mean, again, the Democrats are the party. Again, they tell boys they can be girls, and girls, they can be boys. And again, it's not true. It's not even close to being true. But they tell people that. And they tell people things like, again, if you put razor wire at the border, again, that's not compassionate. We have to be compassionate. We have to allow everyone to come into the country. Because again, we're good people.
If you come out of the public school system, I can't imagine how you could be a Black conservative when just the way that they even tell us our own history is just not true,
Do you think that that's true with most people though? Like when you think of a Trump or just anybody, you're fine with them, but then you learn like their politics, or you learn what they believe spiritually, and then you're like, you're turned off from it.
Yeah, and I don't even think it's necessarily the politics. I really do think the media plays the biggest part in it because Trump, as far as I know, Trump's been, maybe he used to be a Democrat, but he's been a Republican and a conservative for a long time. I mean, we know he had to have been a conservative in terms of economics. He's wealthy, so you'd be hard pressed to find someone that's wealthy and advocating for Marxist beliefs. But yeah, I just feel like it's more about the media wants power. The media has a vested interest in things politically, and they like to make us think that we're having this open conversation and we're learning the truth about people. But these are just hatchet smear jobs, libeling people, and I think deluding a ton of people to turn against their own best interests.
So were you more anti-media as opposed to being pro-Trump?
Well, no, I actually, once I actually heard what he had to say, I was like, that's a pretty solid pitch. I mean, it was his Dimondale, Michigan speech, particularly. He got up there and he just started listing all of the statistics in Black America in terms of poverty. I mean, these were just real statistics that he was talking about. And his pitch was basically like, you've been giving your vote to Democrats for 60 years. Why don't you just try something different? You know? I think that's a pretty good elevator pitch. Like, hey, you've been doing the same thing for a long time. I'm not saying I'm amazing, but why don't we try something different and see if it gets better for you? And then suddenly I like flipped over to CNN and it was Don Lemon's like crying. You know, I think it was I'm maybe being, but it was just, they were so dramatic and they were lying about what he said. They're like, he looked you in the face and told you you were poor. Like, I'm like, that's not what he did at all.
You know, guys, man, we understand. We understand that, again, the Black family has changed big time over the past 50, 60 years. Big time. I mean, again, you know, back in 1960, you know, 75% or thereabouts of the Black families were headed by a Black father. But now majority of Black families are headed by a single mother. Majority, like 75%. I mean, big time. So again, man, it's pretty much the exact opposite of what it was back in 1960. Again, what happened? What happened shortly after that? The welfare state. Again, they paid mothers not to have husbands. We'll give you this check from the government. How many kids you have, whatever. We'll give you this check. If you don't have a man, you don't have a father. And again, one thing we do know is that majority of people, like 70% thereabouts, in prison, white, black, whatever, grew up in homes without fathers. We know that. So again, man, what they did is they took the family apart. They broke the husband up with the mother. They broke him up. And the father was not in the home. And again, when you have that, the kids, male and female, they don't grow up right. They grow up wrong. So again, man, and they want welfare, they want programs, they want whatever. And they're being lied to and they're being told the white man is to blame. The white man, he's to blame. He's keeping you down. So again, get mad, get angry, and vote for us. Vote for us. That's what they're being told. So again, people like Trump, they're trying to reach out. They're trying to say, hey, look, nothing has ever gotten better for you. So again, why don't you try us?
Consider what the media was. Even though I was still a liberal, I knew what the media was. Like, I knew the media was all about selling a headline. I knew then I got an early lesson in the NAACP. I think organizations that never want racism to go away, because how are they going to fundraise? Like, if you're a CEO of the NAACP and you're earning X amount of dollars, you got to keep the racism narrative going on, or you're going to work yourself out of business. So the stuff that I talk about is always based on my experiences, you know? And so it's just crazy to see how it gets manipulated in the press.
Now, you said something earlier. You said that you wanted to listen to what Trump had to say. You said in 2016 you still didn't vote for him. So looking at the country now, right, of course, there's Trump, there's Biden. Who do you think is better for our community?
Obviously. Well, first and foremost, just for everybody, you should have a president that's, you know, not mentally deteriorating like Biden is. I mean, he's in full mental deterioration. It's crazy to pretend anything else that's happening right now. It's scary, first and foremost, because we have real enemies out there. And you have a person that can't lead. You know, he can't remember what he ate for breakfast. He's saying things. I mean, the amount of times that he keeps talking about his dead son as if he's alive, it's very alarming. And I don't say that with any ill will in my heart either, because he's showing signs of when my grandfather, who passed a couple of years ago, started, you know, his mind started diminishing, and you start to see those early signs of dementia. The way he walks, his gait, the way that he's falling, that this is crazy. Everyone should be outraged, whether you're on the left or the right. But in terms of the better candidate for Black Americans, I asked people the question, how were you living under Trump, the person that they told you was going to put us back into chains and we were all going to be slaves again? How was the economy under Trump, and how are you doing today? And every time you ask that question, everyone knows that they were living better under Trump, because he was deregulating the environment. And People were just living.
And I agree with Candace. I do. This country should be outraged. It should be. We should be. Not just black and white, but everyone. Everyone should be outraged because, again, this man is in decline. I mean, there's no way around it. There is no way around it. I mean, again, my father got dementia right before he passed. And, again, very similar type patterns, very similar way of doing things. So, again, there is something definitely wrong with this man. And we need to understand, number one, we need to have a strong leader. We do. And number two, we need somebody in the White House that, again, that wants to shut that border up, that, that understands the way this country was founded was doing for yourself, not wanting government to take care of you. And again, we need that. We understand that's the way to keep this country going. And again, if we don't, we're giving into, we got to be compassionate. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to give away this money. We got to open the borders up. We got to fund the war in Ukraine. We got to do whatever. And no, we don't. We truly do not. We need to focus on ourselves and building up this country. And again, empowering people. Not keeping things down. Again, we have to be aware. Right now, the Democratic Party, they're like the overbearing mother. Again, they're like, well, you can't do that. Let us take care of you. Let us, make it easier for you. Again, they're giving you a fish. They're not teaching you how to fish.
Because at least he's telling you the truth and he's telling you what he actually thinks. One of the things that I hated the most about him when he first came on the escalator, I was like, oh, he's way too brash. Obama sounds way more polite. But I asked the question, do you want to be politely lied to or have somebody that's at least telling you what they think about you in no uncertain terms? So, I like Trump for a ton of reasons. And for me, it was always about the economic argument. And I knew that he was going to be a better candidate for Black Americans because of that, especially build the wall sounded so wild, right? Back in 2016, it sounded wild. It sounded xenophobic. And I was saying, if these illegals get into the inner city communities, the first people that are going to be harmed are going to be Black Americans.
Yeah, man, she is right. She is right. And the thing is, man, we gotta look compassionate. We gotta be nice. If you don't allow everyone to come across that border, we're not being nice. We're not being compassionate. And again, what they're doing is they're pulling on your heartstrings. Again, they're going after you emotionally. And that kind of stuff right there is evil. It's purely evil. Because again, they know how to get you. To make you feel bad. Again, you're not nice. You're not nice unless you want everyone to come across the border. You're not nice. And again, who is it hurting? The Black and brown communities first. I mean, look what's happening right now in New York, in Chicago. I mean, again, we see it happening big time now. And again, man, people are starting to wake up. If they're honest, they're starting to wake up. They're starting to see, hey, look, man, they don't care about you. They don't care about me. They're doing what they want to do. And again, they're taking advantage of you.
Because eventually the Black vote's not going to matter. Something that they worked so hard for is not going to matter. They get enough illegals in. What are we at? 10 million under Biden? And they're doing it intentionally. Like, it's going to be the same thing that they did to Black Americans in the 60s, what Lyndon Baines Johnson did when he established welfarism and the Great Society Act. They want to get these people in, offer them handouts, and turn them into economic slaves that will continue to vote for Democrats because they're getting free handouts. And it's incredibly racist, first and foremost, but because Black Americans are still, a lot of Black Americans, I should say, are still living under this deception that Lyndon Baines Johnson was a good president, even though he was an avowed racist. I mean, he hated Black people. I mean, one of the, so many times, I mean, hard R referring to us as the N-word. I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And this man is being hailed as a hero because he had to sign the Civil Rights Act, essentially with a figurative gun to his head because the country was on fire. JFK had just died, and There were riots in the streets protesting because of racism, and he did not want to sign it, but he did. And with the other hand, he signed the Great Society Act and incentivized welfareism and, programs to incentivize not marrying Black men. To think that we had government agents knocking on the door, going into the homes of Black women and being like, there better not be a man that lives here. We're just here to check to make sure. If you want this check, Dad can't be home. Every other ill that Black America is facing today is because we've removed fathers from the home. So I am like a big, I use my platform to talk about men a lot and the need for male leadership, everything that is so harmful, this, Me Too, false feminism, all of this crap. It's anti-man, and it's anti-man for a reason, because a society cannot survive without strong men. A household cannot survive without strong men. We need strong men to lead homes. And so the fracturing of the Black family, I think, was the test. Like we were the mice in the experiment. Like, let's see how that goes. And now they're kind of doing that writ large. And I hate feminism so much. I can't even tell you, because what it's about is it's just an attack on men.
They purposely went after the Black man. They took the Black man out of the family. And again, when you do so, you leave the wife and the kids vulnerable, because again, they're looking for leadership. And again, the father's gone, the husband, he's gone or non-existent. And again, they're able to control them, because again, we understand that like 70% of people in prison grew up in homes without fathers. We understand that. So again, they're vulnerable. They understand they are. The girls are, the boys and the girls, they both are. And again, the girls, the daughters, they tend to be much more likely to become pregnant when they're teenagers. Because again, they're looking for leadership. They're looking for male leadership. And we have got to understand, again, that's what's happening to this country. That's why they're able to have the southern border wide open. I mean, again, we had the Black Lives Matter protests and everyone else screaming, and people are yelling and screaming and saying systemic racism, white supremacy, whatever. And again, it's not true. But again, they're able to do that because why? Because again, the people are looking for leadership. And they're finding it in the government. And the government is telling them there's white supremacy, there's systemic racism, whatever. And again, they're buying into it. They're able to be controlled. And again, we're having chaos. And again, when things get so bad, like in New York, like in the subway, they're going to bring the National Guard in, and they're going to lock things down. That's what's going to happen. But again, you first have to get the men out of the way, which is what has been done. But guys, man, if you would, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Thanks. You son of a